war was inevitable, and it was a war which Clydebank would never forget. This time, the Singer factory had almost its whole capacity turned over to munitions work. A Royal Ordnance factory was set up at Dalmuir. Again, women were drafted into the shipyards. This time, they were welcomed.
It was quite a good job, you know, because the men were very, very good to the women. They were very nice, and there was no problem at all. You know, I just had to drive the crane and lift their jobs away when they finished them. It was mainly big hatches for the ships hatches, and I would lift them away, and then I'd bring another hatch back to put on their bench again for them to start again.
Unfortunately, in this war, there was no such thing as a non-combatant. On the night of the 13th March 1941, 263 German bombers headed for Clydebank. The bombing went on all night, and they came back again the next night. The burning tenements lit up the sky. Of 12,000 homes, only 8 were undamaged. Over 1,000 people were killed and 1,000 more injured. Large areas were virtually demolished, and almost the entire population, over 50,000 people, had to be evacuated. However, the spirit of the people of Clydebank was unbroken.
We didn't even hear the bomb, we just heard a rushing sound. We didn't even hear a loud bang or anything. And the next minute it was dust and masonry all over the place. And we looked up and there was the girders in the sky. And remember, there's five stories in the tenement, we're the bottom. So that was 4 stories all down. We were looking up into the sky. And then we tried to find the door, and I found the door, and it was stuck tight. So then we had people shouting outside, "Is there anybody in there?" And we shouted back. And they managed to burrow in through the masonry. And before that, just before that, late on that night, a woman from upstairs had come down, who never come down to us before. She had a wee baby in her arms, and I remember her handing it to my ma. My ma says to me, "You put that wee baby safe." So what I did was I put it under the bed, the wee inlet bed, in a clothes basket, so that it wouldn't get hit by any masonry. And I remember when we were getting taken out through this tunnel they had burrowed, the woman in front of me says, "Oh, where's my baby?" And I wouldn't say I was brave or anything, but I was dazed and that. But I remember putting the baby under bed, and I turned back, crawled back in again, and felt for the baby. And a shaft of moonlight showed me the bed, felt for the baby, pulled out, and there wasn't a sound. And I crawled out and gave it to the mother, and it started crying. And it must have slept through the whole lot.
And of course, we were evacuated. But the house, my mother and father, I was staying with my mother and father, and our house wasn't too badly damaged. So we stayed away for about 2 months, I would say, and then we come back. But when we did come back, when you come home at nights, we used to have to go to the shelter. We would have a meal, and then my mother and father and I would go to the shelter. And the public park at Dalmuir, there was the underground shelters, and you used to spend the night there, just take a blanket, and if you could sleep, that's okay. You could sit on a bench, you know. And then in the morning, we used to come out in the morning, and we went home and had our breakfast, and then get ready to go to work again, then away to work, you know. But this went on for quite a while, even after the Clydebank Blitz, you know. Just everybody going to the shelters.
Ironically, the shipyard was relatively undamaged, and work started again within a week. Part of Singer's had been destroyed, including the huge wood yard, which burned for days, yet production was back to normal levels within a few weeks. John Brown's was to produce even greater tonnage and horsepower than it had in the First World War. Launched in battleship Grey, the great Queen Elizabeth was to play a vital role as a troop ship, carrying over 1 million troops, along with the Queen Mary, which for a time became a floating operations centre for Churchill. The Blitz had failed to break Clydebank's spirit, but after the war, the town council faced a daunting task in reconstructing the fabric of the town. The scale of devastation caused by the Blitz demanded large-scale initiatives. Housing was scarce, and rationing still enforced.